Hey, what's up, y'all? It's the HPR Chronicles with Shakur and Smith.
What's up?
And today I'm talking about We Were Kings.
We Were Kings. Okay.
It's just a statement.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to elaborate on that statement. Hey, guys, it's a podcast about history, politics, and race from a pop culture perspective. We're going to break it down simple and plain that you guys can understand. I'm a filmmaker from Trinidad and Tobago. I've traveled a lot, and I've always had a love for history and politics. And Chris is a veteran of the Army Reserves that works for the VA with a passion for history and politics.
Yes.
And, it's about truth. It's not pro any race, just pro-truth. If truth offends you, we're sorry, not sorry.
Not sorry.
You know what I mean?
Not sorry.
Before we get going, just want to take a moment to thank all of our YouTube watchers who want to see us. And then thank our listeners on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Buzzsprout, Stitcher, all the cell phone podcast apps, all the streaming platforms. Just want to say thanks for listening. Keep on listening. Don't forget to subscribe, follow us on social media, and all that good stuff, man. So today we're going to have a conversation, and we, from now on, we go every Wednesday instead of Monday like we said last week.
Yes.
So we on Wednesdays because our other podcast, Romantic Propaganda, comes on Mondays. So we don't want to give you guys two shows in the same day. Just kind of split it up. So by the time you get all your relationship information, you can come to your politics, history, and race.
Exactly.
History, politics, and race. Yeah. So today I'm talking about We Were Kings. What are you going to talk about next week?
Next week, I'm going to get into how Black history is not represented well in education.
Oh, cool. I'm looking forward to that. So basically, the way the new format goes, just for you listeners to know, we're going to, every week, each of us will pick a topic. So Chris has the topic next week, and I'll just, ask him questions about his topic and just kind of join in whatever I know based on what he brought to the table. You know what I mean? And this week, I'm doing this, and I'm not studying his topic, whereas before, we would kind of study each other's topics and just kind of chime in. But what I wanted to create was more of a conversation than just us spewing out history. And stuff like that. So you can stop me at any moment, in between what I'm about to say.
Okay.
For if you have a question or a comment or a statement and stuff like this. But some of the stuff is really interesting, and a lot of it is. And I forgot to put out time on, so you guys not listening to us for an hour when this really should be. Let me just throw the time on real quick. When this really should be 30, 40 minutes, something like that, So let's get into it, man. And what spawned this topic for me this week, guys, is that Chris and I, we were at one of our local lounges here in town, and I was there and I saw a group of young brothers walk in. Some had been there already. Pants hanging halfway down.
Yeah, I know.
Looking real, raggedy. And when I saw that, I thought to myself, like, this isn't who we are. Like, where did this come from? How did this start? This is not who we are as a people. It's not who we are as men, Black men. We were kings. You know what I'm saying? And we're smart, and we're intelligent, and we are articulate, and we're powerful.
Yes.
And we have melanin in our skin, more melanin than any other race. And we'll do a topic on what that means on another show. But so I'm like, what's this all about? Okay. So let's go back a little bit. Okay. First, let's talk about the name Africa and where that came from, right? So the name Africa comes from when the Roman Empire took occupation of the majority of the continent. Right? Because of this, the Romans wanted to completely disconnect the indigenous Africans with their culture, deities, and knowledge. This could be successfully done by renaming all the archetypical icons and disconnecting the significance, meaning, and sacredness from any specific archetype.
Okay.
So when people say we studied Christianity or Islam, it's just simply not true. Our ancestors never believed in something called a God. They believed in something called nature, which are principles applied to certain aspects of life. And means agent, and chur means ancestors. You know what I'm saying? And this isn't an episode about God or anything like that. We could talk about that in another episode, but I'm going somewhere. That's why I brought that up.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So Africa's true and original name is Al-Kebulan. For those that didn't know, the ancient name of Africa was Al-Kebulan. Al-Kebulan meaning mother of mankind or Garden of Eden. Okay. That's what it translates to. Al-Kebulan is the oldest and the only word of indigenous origin. It was used by the Moors, the Nubians, the Numidians, and the Carthaginians, and Ethiopians. You know, I don't want to butcher some of these names, so I'm going a little slow. Africa, the name we call it today, was given to us by the ancient Greeks and Romans. You know what I mean? So we should boldly go forward, actually, as Alka-Bulanites.
Okay.
You know what I mean? That's what we should be called, and that's who we actually are. We're not Africans, which is what we were taught.
I remember there was a time when the word Nubian was used a lot back in the 90s, and like with certain rap groups and stuff like that.
Yeah, that actually would have been better than
Africans. Yeah, no, Nubians would have been a better. Yeah,
Nubians probably would have been a little better.
Yeah.
So if I could go a little further, also the Romans and the Greeks got all of their architectural ingenuity from Africa. The structures you see all around the world that I saw in Sicily and in Italy when I was there, down to the Washington Monument, all came from Africa. And I don't know if a lot of people know that. Some people go to D.C. and they look at the monument and they think that's something that we created. Well, it was from Africa, and slaves built all that stuff. But it was from Africa. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. The irony is you have brothers killing each other miles from the very thing their ancestors created. You know what I mean? You know, at one time the murder rate amongst African Americans was the worst in the nation in Washington, D.C. I remember that.
Yep.
You know, and you know, here you have these brothers walking around lost, literally killing each other, and stuff that their ancestors created is literally all around them.
Oh, yeah, I get what you mean.
You get the irony I'm trying to say? Mm-hmm. It's like they're so lost and far gone. It's like dude, it's right in front of you who you are.
Yeah.
The genius you are, while you over here a few blocks away murdering each other.
Yeah.
For stupid, silly reasons. You know what I mean? So what I wanted to add was, and you can jump in at any time. Mm-hmm. What I wanted to add was, you know, we've come to an aberrated state of being, and this is just not who we are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some of us are walking around with our pants down, illiterate, uneducated, shooting each other, and again, it's just not who we are. And to me, it's disgusting. I mean, just recently we had the Rolling Loud Miami, a musical festival of hip hop, and I mean there were shootings and murders amongst the hip hop artists. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
You know, when have you seen rock stars doing drive-bys on each other?
Never.
And I bring them up because they say rappers are the new rock stars.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? But you know,
they're not living to the same.
Yeah. You know.
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah. At a Rolling Loud weekend last week, you know, this brother from Chicago, this rapper, he was up and coming. He got gunned down. Yeah. Right on, was it Washington and Espanola Way? I mean, I grew up there. I used to skateboard down on South Beach. Yeah. So I know exactly where he was killed. I mean, coming out of this club Cameo, a club that my cousin used to be head of security at. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, dude, Chris, if you know how Miami Beach is structured and how it's laid out, I mean, it's really shocking to know that that's going on down there. And a group of our people comes in town for a Rolling Loud, and they're literally cutting each other down in the street with guns in the middle of just pristine, like, beach community. I mean, they just can't act right. It just trips me out.
So here's a question.
And then in front of the Trump Hotel down in Aventura, where I used to have a store when I was there, these dudes pull out an AK-47, start shooting at NBA YoungBoy. His girlfriend gets hit. They start shooting back. An innocent bystander, a guy 47 years old, he gets shot in the head, get killed. A 5-year-old boy gets grazed.
Yeah.
I mean,
for what? Yeah.
Over what?
So there's
This isn't who we are. Go ahead.
Two things I'm kind of just wondering about is it the, okay, so you refer to how they're dressed, their attitudes. Is it what they're growing up in, their community? Is it something where it's, what am I trying to say? More like, is there anyone to uplift them, to give them a better example?
Yeah.
That's what I would question about that. But go ahead.
I mean, and my answer to that is, look at their counterparts. Look at the Jay-Z's of the world, the Nipsey Hussles of the world, the Jay Prince and their sons. So I mean, these are examples of rap guys, rap moguls that are just the opposite of those guys who were shooting down at a Rolling Loud this weekend. So they have examples to actually look to.
So both sides were.
Choose to go ahead.
Both sides were rappers.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought it was not a normal, but a regular like.
Well, the guy that got killed from Chicago, I don't think. Well, I don't know, but I don't think it was rappers that were shooting at him. It could be just people that's affiliated with the industry. He was down in Miami for Rolling Loud. Okay. And they cut him down in front of Cameo. He's standing out there, and they shot him. Yeah. They killed him. It was a drive-by. So. I mean, and again, like Chris, just to give you an example, this would be like, I mean, it's such a stark difference, but it would be like Old Town Hill gas lamp in San Diego. Yeah. And some rappers coming out, and somebody with an AK just driving. But
yeah, okay.
I mean, it'll be really. I mean, it's in that of a surprising environment.
Got it.
Which shows me that there's no regard for respect of community, life, anything.
Correct. It isn't.
They don't care. Cops are around and everything. Yeah. I mean, it would be like that. You know how in gas lamp you see cops and stuff? Yeah, that's how it is on South Beach on the weekend nights. Okay. I mean, it's just unbelievable to me, man. Yeah. So what I like to do is kind of segue and talk about epigenetics, which is what I was trying to explain to you last week not last week, but a few weeks ago when we finished the podcast. Okay. So let's talk about that. And this is a science that a lot of people don't know about. Okay. That we're affected by.
It's called what again?
As a people. Epigenetics.
Yeah. Genetics. Okay.
So let me break it down for our audience. So our very thought process has been put into our DNA. And we've been thinking negatively about ourselves for so long, it's been passed down through generations. Epigenetics is when the stress and trauma is inherited from our ancestors and, that they got from their ancestors and so on and so forth, and how that stress and trauma and everything that we went through, that we've been through, gets passed down into us today. Okay. Even though we weren't in slavery and all that. Remember when I was explaining to you that time that a lot of the reason why in the black family, the black man leaves and the family is broke apart? Remember I was saying it's this thing I want to explain to you about our DNA and I couldn't remember the word. This is what I was referring to. Back in slavery, they forced us to do it. Yes. And the effects of it, and it became the norm and a conditioning. You know what I'm saying? Well, so which can today lead, because it's in our epigenetics, in our DNA, it can lead some of us to be okay with that and to just do that like it's nothing. When as before, as a people, we never did stuff like that. You study the history.
So I agree
You know what I mean?
that I don't think it's, well, I disagree with a little bit of what you're saying, and I just want to present it is that I agree that, during slavery, families were ripped apart. Father was here, mother, all the, family was ripped apart. And I agree that over time that can affect a people, right? But I also think that it's not just men or just black men. I think white men do it too, where they're not necessarily want to be great fathers and they're always around. But my big thing I want to kind of say is I kind of think that being a father is either in you or not in you. Do you know what I'm saying?
I don't necessarily agree with that either, because, again, I only can speak for our race. I don't know what happened with the white race, but I can say this. I guarantee you, if you pull your computer out and check the numbers, the statistics, black men are statistically known, black and brown probably, higher to leave their families than our counterparts for many reasons. And I know growing up, I can honestly say that most of my white friends had all their family in the home. You know what I'm saying?
But
and I'm
at the
sure.
same...
So what I'm trying to say is, whether you agree with it or not, there is a science, a proven science that shows and says that. And I'm gonna just keep going a little further. When you're subject to similar foods, music, anxiety, moods, thoughts, the way you are oppressed, the mere fact that the black man was taught through his mother because of slavery to fear that other race is still in our epigenetics to this day.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Along with the family being broken up, and
so I will agree. I mean, I'm agreeing. I understand and I agree with the idea that the process that was used to keep us suppressed is yes, it's still in us and is being. But there's so many things
the process that they used to make us as slaves too, before you even get to
process
that.
Is. But I also feel like it's continuing because of different reasons that we'll probably hit up. Could be media, could be education.
For
financial issues.
Yeah, that's just one part of it for sure. And then the oppression and the systemic oppression continued,
correct,
and just added fuel to this fire when I speak of the epigenetics.
But I want to say that. But I kind of want to say that I've seen the opposite. Where I grew up, I grew up from a divorced family. I mean, my father was still around, not always around, but around. Okay. Right. But then I have family and friends who I know that have both, grew up with both their parents. So I'm not in the. I've seen. Okay, just growing up where I was, it was a black community that cared for their area. Right. And up until a point, I feel like everyone kept their places looking clean and was, respected their neighborhoods. And then it just over time things change, but and that's the part I sometimes can't figure out. Is it just that things got bad, jobs left, or is it more to it? But go ahead. So.
No, yeah. I mean, all those are good points. I mean, and when I think about my family, I mean, we're from Trinidad, and all of my uncles made sure they maintained being great dads. You know what I mean? And even though my daughter doesn't live with me, and me and her mom divorced and stuff, I'll always maintain being a good dad.
And I do the same thing.
But on the other side, my dad wasn't there and didn't try to be there. And a lot of my brothers complain about that very thing. And I'm not just blaming epigenetics. What I'm saying is that epigenetics plays a big part of it, and no one talks about that. Okay. And I'm not saying that it affects every single person, which I'm gonna get into a little later. What I'm saying is, it's a fact that affects us as a people, and no one talks about it. And I'm not saying it's just us. People, Jews who have gone through what they've gone through are also affected by their version of the epigenetics. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Which makes them do certain things and act certain ways and stuff like that.
Okay.
So I'm not saying like this is only a thing that only happened with us.
Gotcha.
It's just something, again, that should be talked about that no one ever does.
Okay.
And what I also wanted to say was that, so going back to what I was saying before, when you have similar feuds in music, anxiety, moods, thoughts, actions that people were oppressed by over generations, you can set the stage for similar thoughts and actions today. You know what I mean? Yeah. So being in slavery for so many years, the only place we can fathom getting our wealth from is our slave master. We got everything from our slave masters.
Correct.
Clothing, food, shelter, everything.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm going somewhere with this whole thing. So that construct is so accepted that when we do have successful blacks that didn't get it from quote unquote master, in our minds they had to do something to get it. I mean, you've heard everything from Illuminati, worshiping the devil, to who knows what.
Yeah, that's good.
We're accused of being involved in when we're successful. Because for some reason, that epigenetics, what I was studying, we're so conditioned to that construct of only being able to be successful if we have that from our master, that when people like the Jay-Z's of the world and the Oprahs do it on their own, we don't get credit. They're involved in everything. I mean, when have you heard someone say Bill Gates is in the Illuminati?
Never.
When have you heard someone say Mark Cuban is in the Illuminati?
Never.
When have you heard someone say Richard Branson is in the Illuminati? The guy that owns Virgin.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, so it's okay for them to be billionaires.
Yep.
Nothing helped them.
No, yes.
But when we do it on our own,
what did we do?
We can't fathom it.
Correct.
Because of that construct that we've been so conditioned by.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? To
limit ourselves, and the only way you can make it is by even despite the phrase,
Now if Bill Gates funded Jay-Z, they probably wouldn't say it was Illuminati or he worshiped the devil. You know what I'm saying? Because that they can get. You know what I'm trying to say?
I got you, yeah.
The shit is deep, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because also in that one, instead of him making the money himself or figuring out how to get his millions, he just got it from someone else. So it's like, oh, well, he got it from Bill Gates. Right.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So then the Illuminati talk wouldn't come up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I just saw how Beyonce invested in Uber, and she just made $300 million the other day when it went public. She was one of the early investors in Uber.
Didn't know that.
See what I'm saying? But no, it's Illuminati. It couldn't be that she saw something smart and invested and knew later that it would pay out. Yeah. It's crazy, So let me keep going.
Or she had the money to drop on something, was just like,
of course she had the money.
I'm just saying, but I mean, when you invest, you take a risk.
Talents and I
mean, you're still taking risks. All my point is just saying is whether or not it, even if it didn't work out for her, she had the money, but the fact that it did work out and she did it, she should just, the props should be given to her instead of being like something. But
exactly, I agree. So the conditions that some of us are raised in is so stressful, it makes us want to give up. And now it's going back to what I was saying before. Blacks aren't lazy or was born lazy. We actually built the nation and are responsible for its economic wealth.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Instead, some of us have conformed to laziness because we've given up, quit on ourselves, and feel defeated spiritually. Again, this is the part of the epigenetics that I was talking about earlier. We're such a strong people that some of us are able to overcome, but some of us aren't. Like the brothers I saw at Tilted Kilt. You know what I'm saying? I'm going back to them. You know what I'm saying? At one time we were a great nation of people. and I'll cover what happened, before slavery on a different episode.
Yeah.
I have a lot to say about before slavery. I have like a whole
hour and a half show.
no, it's probably about an hour and 15 minutes because it goes back 90,000 years or something like that.
Okay.
In Africa. I mean, it's deep. I mean, it has the names of all the countries before it was named today, all that stuff.
Okay.
What they did, know.
Okay.
So again, those guys who we saw over at Tilted Killed, and these brothers killing each other. I mean, the only difference between the guys over at Tilted Killed and the guys who were killing each other at Rolling Loud Miami is that some they rap and they have money and some don't. But those are the same guys.
So you think those same guys would have been killing?
Oh yeah, my whole point is those guys that Tilted Killed, who are obviously not millionaires and broke, they're no different from the NBA young boys of the world. Okay. Because the NBA young boy is just like those guys that Tilted Killed. The only difference is he's rich because he's a rapper.
Yeah.
But it's the same mentality.
Yeah, that is
You know what I mean? They just have a little artistry. They can rap. They watch people rap, and now they can rap. But there's nothing difference between a rich slave and a poor one.
Yeah.
But NBA Youngboy and the guys Tilted Till are both slaves. That's my whole point. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So what I'd like to do is just remind our audience, especially our African American youth and people, about some of the inventions that we actually did. Because I think we need to be reminded of who we actually are.
Yes, I agree.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm only going to name a few, but people, there's tons of these inventors and inventions, tons and tons. We don't have a show long enough to
do it.
Name all of the stuff Black people actually invented that have contributed in today's society. I'm going to name off a few. I think maybe 5 or 6 or so.
Okay.
So let's start with Thomas L. Jennings. He was the first African American person to receive a patent in the U.S., paving the way for future inventors of color to gain exclusive rights to their inventions. He was born in 1791. Jennings lived and worked in New York City as a tailor and a dry cleaner. He invented an early method of dry cleaning called dry scoring. Again, do you know of any Black people that own any dry cleaners? Because I don't. You know what I'm saying?
No, I don't.
So a brother was the first one that invented the concept of dry cleaning.
Except for George Jefferson on TV.
Except for George Jefferson, right. Except for George Jefferson on TV. He had a dry cleaner, right? That's right. That's right. But beyond him, I don't know of any other dry cleaners in real life. You know what I'm saying?
God. Yeah. No,
I don't. It's crazy, man. So let's move on to Mark E. Dean. That's funny. That's a good one, though.
But I did meet someone who owns a dry cleaner. Great job.
Were they Black?
She's not. But it was. See? But I did know someone who owned a dry cleaner. Yeah. It was just interesting.
I'm saying anyone Black.
Shout out to you, Amy.
Yeah, but anyone Black, I'm saying, do you know?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I don't either. It's crazy. I didn't even know that we invented the concept
I
of
didn't
dry
either.
cleaning. So the next one is Mark E. Dean. He was born in 1957. He was a computer scientist engineer that worked for IBM, where he led the team that designed the ISA bus, the hardware interface that allows multiple devices like printers, modems, and keyboards to be plugged into a computer.
Nice.
This innovation helped pave the way for the personal computer's use in office and business settings. Dean also helped develop the first color computer monitor. And in 1999, he led the team of programmers that created the world's first gigahertz chip. Now, the reason why, Sione was able to do the special effects for our movie and use a color screen was because of a brother. I had no idea.
Yeah. That's a monumental, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I want to remind these brothers out here, this is who you are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let's move on. Marine Van Britten Brown, 1922, a nurse and inventor who invented the precursor to the modern home TV security system. The crime rate was high in Brown's New York City neighborhood, and the local police didn't always respond to emergencies. To feel safer, Brown and her husband developed a way for a motorized camera to peer through a set of peepholes and project images onto a TV monitor. The device also included a two-way microphone to speak with a person outside. and an emergency alarm button to notify the police.
Interesting.
So the very camera I have right here, the way I can speak through it and all that stuff, how I could look at the image on it on my phone and computer, came from a black woman.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no.
And again, these are things that we have no idea of.
None. Yep.
And I don't know any black people that, I think Nas invested in the Ring doorbell and Nest and stuff. So we have some black investors in that field.
Correct. There's investors. I mean, nowadays I think there's investors that
and I know
have
that
money.
for sure, because I heard that Nas was one of the investors behind Ring and all that. So that's cool.
I mean, I remember when that was being. Sorry, it's a side note, but I remember when that was even being shown on that TV show, Shark Tank.
Oh, okay.
Where they were doing. It called it something else, but it became Ring. I was like, wow.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
wow.
Very interesting.
That's cool. So let's go to another one. George Carruthers. He's 1939. He was born. He's an astrophysicist who spent much of his career working with the Space Science Division of the Naval Research Laboratory in Washington, D.C. He's most famous for creating the ultraviolet camera spectrograph, which NASA used when it launched Apollo 16 in 1972. It helped prove that molecular hydrogen existed in interstellar space. And in 1974, space scientists used a new model version of the camera to observe Halley's Comet and other celestial phenomena on the U.S.'s first space station, Skylab. All from a brother Carruthers.
So, if anything, I would say that I would at least hope that if I was taking a class in astrophysics, that's something I would be taught. I bet you they don't either. But that would be something that, besides maybe it being taught in either grammar or high school. But go ahead.
It's crazy, man. So let's go to Dr. Patricia Bath. She was born in 1942. Revolutionized the field of ophthalmology when she invented a device that refined laser cataract surgery, which you benefited by, right? Because you got laser surgery.
I got LASIK surgery.
LASIK,
cataract is different.
Laser though, right?
Cataract is a little bit different.
Right.
But
anyway, she invented a thing called the laser phaco probe. Or laser phaco probe. She patented the invention in 1988, and today she's recognized as the first female African American doctor to receive a medical patent. Bath is a trailblazer in other areas too. She was the first African American to finish residency at ophthalmology at New York University, the first woman to chair an ophthalmology residency program in the U.S., and she co-founded the American Institute for the Prevention of Blindness. If that weren't enough, Bath's research on health disparities between African American patients and other patients gave birth to a new discipline, community ophthalmology, in which volunteer eye workers offer primary care and treatment to underserved populations. So again, think about this when you're getting your eye surgery done and all that kind of stuff.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? Okay, second to last is Jan Ertz Matzeliger, 1852 to 1889, an immigrant from Suriname who worked as an apprentice in a Massachusetts shoe factory. He invented an automated machine that attached a shoe's upper part to its sole. Once it was refined, the device could make 700 pairs of shoes a day. Wow. A far cry from the 50 a day that the average worker once sold by hand. See what I'm saying? His creation led to lower shoe prices, making them within financial reach for the average American.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? So when you hear about us owning our own fashion brands, and shoe brands, like my friend Jerry Lorenzo that owns Fear of God, that's normal.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We should actually own something like Nike. You know what I mean? We were always the innovators, the inventors, the scientists, you know what I'm saying?
I do.
That did all this stuff. But if you let the news tell it, they just show us shooting each other.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They don't talk about none of this stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Another one, this is the second to last, actually. Alexander Miles invented the automatic elevator door. So when you're on an elevator, think about that. Before he invented that, you have to use it by hand. And he invented the automatic elevators that open and close at the exact same time.
Gotcha.
Another brother. So when you're on an elevator, you know what I'm saying?
And the door closed behind you.
You know what I'm saying?
Because the brother thought of it.
Think
without
about that.
having to close it yourself.
Yeah, man. I mean, and again, and I'm trying to stress this stuff because we need to know. And when I say we were kings, I mean on every aspect of the word. We were geniuses. This is who we are, people. We're not the sagging pants, shooting each other up, drunk, smoking weed all day people that society has portrayed us to be.
Yeah.
We're just not. That's not who we are. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And to me, it's just sad when I see brothers out there who don't know this stuff, who think that that's who they are and that's who they should be and need to be, whether it be from lack of education, lack of an upbringing, lack of knowledge, whatever it is, man. They need to know. And I have to say, before I talk about the last one, I have to say, let me tell you how important history is. Mm-hmm. So when I was coming up, and I used to sell drugs and stuff like that at one point in my life, it was my cousin Sean who came to me one day and started breaking down history and who we really were. What changed my life? Okay. See, so I actually could have been one of them guys that tilted kill or shooting at these guys over at Rolling Loud. But my cousin, when he explained to me who we were and explained the African black history, it changed my life. Okay. That very night, I threw all my drugs away. I threw all my bags away, everything. I'll never forget. We started talking at like 9 in the evening, and we ended at 6 the next morning. Stayed up all night talking about history. I was blown away. I was shocked. I was like, that's who we are? I couldn't even believe it. Because everything I was told up to that point was not true, false, and garbage. And you know, this false sense of who we are as a people and who I was as a black man was perpetuated to me in such a negative way that's what I was feeding into. So that's what everything was that's what all I saw in society too. Even though I didn't grow up in the ghetto. Yeah. You know?
So just to say, some of your examples kind of even tie into what I just was saying earlier, where it's a bit of the, you know, the community, your environment, your family, whatever. But one thing that kind of touched me with what you just said was, you know, your cousin came to you. I went when I went home for my uncle's funeral.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
I ran. You know, a neighbor of my uncle had come up to me. He's like, "Do you recognize me?" And unfortunately, I didn't. Yeah. You know, and he said his name, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, you and your brother, Melvin and Marvin." Like, cool, nice to see you. And then he just proceeded to tell me, he's like, "I just want to thank you." And I'm like, "Why are you thanking me for what?" And he's like, "Thank you for just being a great role model growing up." And I mean, our ages are not that drastic. I felt. You know, I'm a teenager, high school. I'm just really thinking about myself. But he said that me and my cousin, and we're the same age, portrayed positive role models for him and his brother that they wanted to be like us. And that kind of, that hit me like, wow, at in whatever age. But so what I have to say in that is the role models I had, like I love my father, but was he the best? No. But, and then I look at my uncles and or my grandfather, I took inspiration from them more. It's just for whatever, for just different reasons. And I guess in myself, I just always tried to portray to be a very positive person. And I guess I did it at a young age. I don't know, but it was just cool. It was really cool to hear that, and I was like, really,
and for whatever reason, you had that. You had access to that.
So
you were able to be an example for someone else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's interesting, man. Yeah. And see, just imagine how my cousin told me that. Imagine if I had learned some of that stuff in school. Yeah. I wouldn't have sold drugs way before. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Oh, yeah, I do.
Imagine if you're empowered, if you know people that look like you have done amazing things. Yep. You know what I mean? And it empowers you in a different way and stuff like that. Imagine what you would actually do.
I mean,
with that knowledge.
Some of this, it's interesting, your topic and how it's going to relate into what I'm gonna talk about next week.
Yeah.
But it's also just interesting overall because, like I could think of different parts. Like, okay, I can say education. It's missing because we're not, as Black people, put into it or part of the history of the United States enough to have someone young read about something and go,
Right.
this person, looks like me,
Yep.
he did this,
this.
Or in the media, we're not information is not put out there positively enough times to have us look at ourselves and go, this person is doing this great stuff. I want to be like them. Instead, you see, nothing wrong with being a rap artist. Got friends who into it, did it. There's nothing wrong with being a comedian. None of that. Those are all great things, and you can do your positiveness from any of it. But having to see, Neil Patrick, that's a great thing, But he's so seeing smart people, or even though we had a Black president. The next president is not there to make us feel better. Some of the things as growing up, when you think the Civil War had ended and, positive images of slaves and something to make the nation feel positive. No, instead we have Confederate monuments put up. So it's like in every sense of the way, some of this is because that's what was systematically decided and pushed through for the United States. So
I mean, and you have kids going to school with that as their symbols as they walk in and out of school every morning.
Yeah, I mean,
these Confederate statues and stuff.
Before it was put out how Christopher Columbus did not discover America. But what did all our George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, your ideas are only people who can run the country must be white. Only people who can create anything must be white. Only people who have sailed around and found different, all the different continents must have been white. No, that's not true. Not at all.
That's not
at all.
When that's not the case.
Sorry.
No, it's all good. Yeah, so one of the last inventors I want to mention real quick is a Black man that had his own car company 100 years ago. His name was Frederick D. Patterson, and he competed with the Model T, the Ford Model T. He was very, very successful too.
Wow.
Yeah, and I forgot what happened, why it broke down. One day we'll do an episode on all the inventors.
See, now that would be cool. Someone to create a Black owner. Go into the car business and create a new model and name it. Yep.
Yeah, man. So all that stuff that we need to, all that stuff is that I think we should know that they try not to actually tell us. And going back to how you gave the examples of when you went to your uncle's funeral. I remember my friend Reggie, who I grew up with in Miami. Yeah, I remember he came to visit me like in, 2015 or 2016. And for the first time, I hadn't seen Reggie in probably almost 20 years, 20 years. And it was funny when he came to visit because he has a cousin that lives here that's in TV and stuff like that as well. And we hung out a lot when he came, and it was funny when he told me something I didn't know. He told me that the mere fact that I was his friend and me and my mother took him in and fed him and showed him something different is what changed his life. Yeah. And he thanked me for that when he was here, and I was shocked because I had no idea that we impacted his life the way we did. Because I had stopped selling drugs and Reggie kept selling drugs. Oh, okay. That's the only way that he could actually survive. Got it. So I wouldn't sell, but I would go hang out with him at his spot while he was selling and stuff. That's just part of going to Miami. Yeah. But I didn't know that.
You took a slight risk, but if you got caught, you at least had nothing on you.
Yeah, exactly. But I didn't know that the reason that what changed his life was the effect that I had on him and my mother had on him. Just accepting him and inviting him in, and because I didn't even remember that he didn't have a relationship with his mom and didn't have his mom and dad and stuff like that. Okay. So he looked, to my mom almost as his
mom,
in the small ways that we did that we didn't even realize that we were doing.
Yeah, you were just doing life.
Yeah, and he explained that to me when he was here, man, and it tripped me out.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. He thanked me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Now he has a good job, and and he has a son. He brought his son, and I met his son, and we all hung out, and
wow, nice.
It just really tripped me out by a guy like that who had nothing, that was living in the street. Just me being somewhat of a positive example after I had stopped selling drugs and stuff, helped change his life.
His life, yeah.
And he didn't even know the stuff that I had learned, but just seeing who I had become helped change him.
Correct.
So imagine how powerful this stuff could be if we had access to it in schools and if we're taught it, which we're going to cover next week. But dude, it's amazing. Anyway, I can go on and on about this stuff, but what I would like people to start doing is stop being surprised at our achievements. Stop being surprised at the amazing things we do as a people.
Yes.
Because that's who we are. Just straight up, that's who we are. We're not these shoot 'em up, kill each other,
correct.
don't
that is
care,
true. Yep.
Take drugs all day. People that this society have been perpetuating. That's not who we are. And we need to start seeing more images of the other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
and
we could start having some better examples.
And I would even add to that is even those who are stuck in bad communities that are still trying to do positive things. I'm sure that, there's good families there just trying to survive. And when they can, they'll move out or move on or whatever.
Right.
But just want to add that, it's deep. And it just takes a person to spread the knowledge, to take that initiative to show others there's a better life. Yeah,
absolutely. And when you guys get a chance, study epigenetics. It's very interesting. Once again, you guys should really get into that and see what that's all about. It's a real thing. And again, I didn't know about it until I started studying history and all that kind of stuff. But it's deep. It's really deep. So I guess that's it for today.
All right.
That's it. Yeah. All right, guys. So it's the HPR Chronicles with Shakur and Smith. Once again, thanks for checking in with us.
Thank you.
Every week. Don't forget to follow us on social media. The email is rptalktruth@gmail. If you have any topics or things you want to discuss, comment below if you have a comment. On all the streaming platforms. I think you can comment everywhere on iTunes.
Everywhere?
I think you can.
I'm pretty sure you should be able to.
I think you can.
Okay.
Anyway, you guys have any comments or questions or suggestions, always feel free.
Hit us up.
Again, it's the HPR Chronicles with Shakur and Smith. And we out.
Peace.
Peace.